Welcome, everyone. Today we're diving deep into J. Krishnamurti's Freedom from the Known.
Oh, this is a good one.
Yeah, it's a bit of a challenge, but
Definitely.
it's a fascinating book. It's not your typical self-help book.
No, not at all.
It's more of a philosophical exploration.
Yeah,
Kind of shakes up everything we think we know about ourselves and the world around us.
it really does.
Yeah.
You know what's interesting about Krishnamurti is he doesn't give you a set of beliefs or dogmas.
Yeah.
It's not about that. It's more of an invitation to a journey
Oh, interesting.
of self-discovery.
Okay.
He wants us to look at our own conditioning
Right.
and the ways that we create our own realities.
So it's less about getting answers and more about asking the right questions.
Exactly. And he even challenges that urge we have as humans to find truth from outside sources,
Yeah.
whether it's gurus or religions or even our own past experiences.
Yeah, we tend to look outwards a lot.
We do. He says that when we cling to those things, we're actually preventing ourselves from truly understanding ourselves and the world around us.
It's like we're looking for something external to validate what we already think, you know?
Absolutely. And we like to be comfortable.
We do like to be comfortable.
Yeah, right. We crave that.
Yeah.
He even tells this funny story
Okay.
about this disciple who is so focused on his spiritual mission that when he gets married, he forgets to go back to God.
Oh, wow.
And it's this funny way of showing how easily we can get distracted by
Right.
comfort and security.
Even when we're on a path.
Yeah, even when we think we're searching for something bigger.
So, okay, if we're not supposed to rely on those outside authorities, where do we even start?
That's where Krishnamurti's idea of self-knowledge comes in.
Okay.
He says that's where freedom starts, by understanding ourselves, but not just as individuals,
Right.
but as part of a greater whole.
So, like, we are all connected.
Yes, exactly. Think of it like a drop of water in the ocean.
Okay.
It has its own unique form, but it's still part of something so much bigger. Right. And we're like those drops.
That's a great analogy.
We're unique, but we're all connected.
Yeah, I noticed that this idea of interconnectedness comes up a lot in the book,
It does.
especially when he talks about culture and how individual transformation can affect society as a whole.
Yeah, he's pretty critical of what he calls the degeneration of culture.
Okay.
He points out how we've become fixated on superficial things.
Right.
External forms.
Yeah, it's like we've lost touch with a real sense of purpose and meaning.
Exactly. And I think we all feel that sometimes.
Absolutely. It's like we are constantly bombarded with information and entertainment, but
It is.
it's often empty.
It's all surface level.
It doesn't really satisfy.
He argues that this emptiness in our culture is actually a reflection of what's happening inside of us.
So interesting.
That we've become fragmented.
Okay.
Focus on pleasure, possessions, clinging to beliefs.
Yeah.
That we've lost sight of that wholeness within us.
Yeah. So how do we move from this fragmented state to a sense of wholeness?
He believes the key is in understanding our own minds.
Okay.
He says that we're constantly lost in thought,
Right.
analyzing, comparing, judging,
It's true.
that we rarely experience the present moment with any clarity.
Yeah, I could definitely relate to that. I find myself dwelling on the past or worrying about the future all the time.
Absolutely. And he uses this really interesting analogy of
Yeah.
these three gentlemen who are discussing awareness
Uh-huh.
as they accidentally run over a goat.
Oh my gosh.
It shows how we can be so caught up in our own heads
Right.
that we become completely oblivious to what's right in front of us.
Wow, that's a powerful image.
It is, and he's trying to wake us up
So what's going on around us?
to see how our inattentiveness
Right.
to ourselves and to the world is causing suffering
Yeah.
and disharmony.
So how do we cultivate that? How do
Yeah.
we cultivate this awareness that he's talking about?
He talks about the difference between concentration, which is focusing on one thing while excluding others,
Right.
and attention,
Cool.
which is being fully present,
Okay.
open to the totality of experience.
So it's more holistic.
Yes, exactly.
It's like a mindfulness almost.
Exactly. He says it's through this choiceless awareness
Okay.
that we can start to see things as they truly are,
Without those filters.
without the filters of our conditioning or our preconceived notions.
Saying that clarity and that perception, that's where we can break free from those patterns that keep us stuck.
Exactly. He believes freedom is not something we achieve
Okay.
by striving or efforting.
Mm-hmm.
It happens naturally when we let go of what we think we know,
Right.
when we're open to what is.
It sounds like this idea of letting go of the known comes up again and again in the book.
It does. He also talks about the limitations of knowledge. He makes a distinction between knowledge and understanding.
Okay.
Knowledge is important for practical things.
Right, of course.
But it can also be a barrier.
To true understanding.
Yes, it can trap us in these rigid beliefs.
Right.
And prevent us from seeing the world with fresh eyes.
Almost like a prison we build for ourselves.
Yes, with knowledge as the bars.
It can definitely feel that way sometimes.
He encourages us to approach life with a childlike curiosity.
Okay.
To be open to the unknown. To let go of the need to have all the answers.
That sounds so liberating, but also a bit scary.
It is, and that's where his concept of radical transformation comes in. He's not talking about making small changes.
He wants a complete overhaul.
Yes, a complete shift in consciousness.
Wow.
A fundamental change in how we see ourselves in the world.
So it's not just about tweaking things here and there. It's a whole new way of being.
Exactly.
Oh, I'm definitely intrigued.
Good.
But I have to admit, radical transformation sounds a little intimidating.
It can be.
So what does that actually look like in practice?
It begins with understanding how our minds create this illusion of separation between ourselves and others, between the observer and the observed.
Interesting.
We create these images of who we are, how the world works, and we hold on to them for dear life.
So it's like we're living in a movie we created, but we think it's real life.
Exactly. And he argues that this illusion of separation is the root of so much conflict and suffering.
Yeah, I can see that. Because if we're always filtering everything through these mental constructs, we're never really seeing things as they are.
Exactly. He says when we realize the observer is the observed, that separation dissolves.
Now, my mind is really blown. If the observer is just another thought, then who's doing the observing?
That's the big question, isn't it?
It is.
Krishnamurti points to this state of pure awareness.
Okay.
A consciousness that's not limited by thought or the ego.
So there's something beyond our usual thought patterns.
Yes. Something more expansive.
That's fascinating.
And it's not something that's only available to a select few.
Okay, good.
He believes it's there for all of us. If we're willing to do the work.
Okay, what kind of work?
Self-observation. Peeling back those layers of conditioning and seeing ourselves honestly.
That's a lot of work.
It is, but it's worth it.
Okay, I think I'm starting to get a sense of how radical this transformation really is. It's about questioning everything, even our sense of self. But how do we actually access this state of pure awareness? Is it through meditation? Special breathing techniques?
He emphasizes it's not about seeking mystical experiences or following any specific path. It's about cultivating a deep awareness of what is, our thoughts, our feelings, our sensations, our interactions, without judgment.
Without judgment. Okay.
Or attachment.
So it's about being present in reality, not trying to escape it.
Precisely. He talks about bringing that same attentiveness to our inner world.
That we bring to the outer world.
Exactly.
Okay.
He talks about observing our minds, really paying attention to our thoughts, how they arise, how they shape our perceptions and behaviors.
It reminds me of that analogy he uses about living with a snake in the room.
Oh, yes.
You have to be constantly aware of its every move or it might strike.
Exactly. That same alertness is needed to understand our own minds.
Wow.
We have to be willing to see those snakes.
Our own personal snakes.
Yes, in the shadows of our consciousness.
Fears, anxieties, all of that.
Yes, all of it. And to see them without flinching.
And not turning away.
Exactly.
Is that how we free ourselves from those negative patterns then? By confronting them head on.
He says that the very act of observing those patterns without judgment or resistance begins to take away their power over us.
It's like shining a light on those patterns and they start to disappear.
It is.
So by bringing them into our conscious awareness, we can start to dismantle them.
Exactly. And as we do that, he believes we tap into a source of energy and intelligence that's much greater than our individual egos.
Okay, and that's the energy that fuels true transformation, both in ourselves and in the world.
Yes, it's the energy of a mind that's whole.
That's no longer fragmented.
And in harmony with itself and with life.
I mean, it's true that his ideas can be pretty radical and challenging.
They are.
It's not about being passive. It's about actively participating in our own self-discovery and transformation.
And he doesn't offer easy answers.
Right.
Or quick fixes.
It's a journey.
It's a lifelong journey of questioning and a willingness to question everything.
Wow, this is a lot to take in.
It is.
There's so much depth and nuance to his ideas.
There is.
We've only just scratched the surface.
We have. But what we've talked about so far lays the foundation for one of his most profound insights.
Oh, which is?
The connection between action and understanding.
Okay.
He challenges the idea that we need to have all the answers before we can act,
Wow.
suggesting that it's often through action that we gain real insight.
But we learn by doing.
Exactly.
That's fascinating.
Yeah.
I'm really interested to see where this goes. This is getting even more interesting.
It's like we think of action and understanding as two separate steps.
Right.
First you learn, then you act.
Right.
But Krishnamurti is suggesting it's more like a dance.
Interesting.
This constant back and forth between the two.
So it's not about just sitting back and absorbing knowledge. We have to actually get out there and experience things to really understand.
Yeah, exactly. He even says that inaction is complete action.
Wow.
Which seems like a paradox.
It does, yeah.
But it means when we let go of our need to control, when we can just be present, that's when real action comes from.
It's counterintuitive,
yeah.
But I can kind of see how forcing things sometimes just makes them more complicated.
Yeah, because when you force a solution, you're coming from a limited perspective, a place of fear or anxiety. Right. But if you can step back, observe clearly, let things unfold, that's when a deeper understanding can come.
It's like taking a breath before reacting.
Exactly.
So how does this play out in our everyday lives?
He gives this example of a scientist observing a phenomenon.
Okay.
They don't go in with a predetermined outcome.
Right.
They're open to whatever they might find.
So being open to being wrong.
Yes, letting go of those preconceived notions.
Okay.
And letting experience be the guide.
So being willing to learn and adjust as we go.
Exactly. And this applies to everything, not just science.
Okay.
Our relationships, our work,
right.
Our creative endeavors.
When we approach things with that openness and curiosity, that's when we can really understand.
Yes.
And that ties back to his critique of superficiality, doesn't it?
It does.
We're so obsessed with instant gratification that we miss the real beauty of life.
Yeah. He says so much of what we call culture, or art, literature, entertainment.
Right.
It's designed to distract us.
Keep us busy.
Yeah. From those bigger questions.
I know. I've definitely felt that way sometimes.
Me too.
Like we're overwhelmed with information, but it's all surface level.
It doesn't nourish us.
Not really.
Yeah.
He's saying that this lack of depth in our culture is a reflection of our own inner state.
He is.
Yeah.
We've become so disconnected from ourselves that we've lost touch with the good stuff.
So how do we get back to that? How do we break free from all of that and find real meaning?
It starts with understanding what freedom really is.
Okay.
We often think it's about being free from external things.
Right, like oppression or poverty.
Exactly.
But he's saying it's internal.
Yes, it's about breaking free from our own thoughts, our fears, our attachments.
So it's about changing our relationship to those things, not necessarily getting rid of them.
Exactly.
He talks about dying to the past.
Yes.
Letting go of all the baggage.
Yeah, all the memories, the beliefs, all of it that weighs us down.
That's a powerful image, dying to the past.
It is. He's not talking about a physical death, though. More of a psychological letting go.
Yeah. So being willing to see things in a new way.
Exactly. Abandoning everything we thought we knew.
Wow. It's like a complete rewiring of our minds.
It is. Yeah. No more autopilot.
But how do we actually do that?
He says we need to live in the present moment.
Easier said than done.
It is. Our minds are always somewhere else.
Exactly.
But the more we can be present, the more we start to see how everything is connected.
And that interconnectedness is a big part of the book, too.
Yeah, he says that real peace and harmony can only come from individuals who have transformed themselves.
So it's not about changing the world out there, it's about changing ourselves first.
Exactly. Because he says all the violence and greed in the world is just a reflection of what's inside of us.
So to change the world, we have to start with ourselves.
That's right. And this transformation isn't about isolating ourselves. It's about becoming more connected to everything.
That's kind of beautiful.
It is. He sees a world where people aren't driven by self-interest, but by understanding and compassion and a sense of shared humanity.
It's a pretty radical vision.
It is.
But he doesn't give us a roadmap.
He doesn't even believe in following any particular path.
So where do we start?
He encourages us to embark on our own journey, to question everything, to be constantly learning, and to live with a sense of wonder.
I like that.
Yeah.
What really struck me was his emphasis on the limits of knowledge.
Oh, yeah.
He says real understanding doesn't come from just accumulating information
It does.
or clinging to beliefs.
He says knowledge is necessary.
Right, for practical things.
But it can also block us.
From real insight.
Yes, because our minds try to categorize everything based on what we already know.
So we miss out on experiencing things fully.
We do. He
Yeah.
wants us to be like children again.
Okay.
Curious, open to the unknown.
Not needing all the answers.
Exactly. It's about embracing the mystery.
Acknowledging that we don't know everything.
And that the journey itself is what matters.
That's a good way to put it.
Hmm.
This has been a lot to absorb.
It has.
It's so thought-provoking.
Definitely.
Oh.
What stands out to you the most so far?
I think for me, it's this idea that freedom comes from understanding the observer and the observed.
Yeah.
Like he's saying, even the me that's observing is just another thought.
That's a tough one to grasp.
It is. It's mind-bending. So if the observer is just another thought, what's really in control?
Right. Krishnamurti points to this state of pure awareness,
Okay.
a consciousness that goes beyond thought and the ego.
So he's talking about a way of being that's beyond our usual way of thinking.
Right. Beyond subject and object.
Beyond all of that. And it's not a passive state either, right?
No, he describes it as a powerful force.
Oh, wow.
This incredible energy and intelligence that can transform us.
That's pretty amazing.
Mm.
But it also sounds kind of mystical.
Yeah.
How do we actually access this?
Yeah.
Is it through meditation or something?
He says it's not about seeking out mystical experiences or following a specific path.
Okay.
It's about being aware of what is our thoughts, feelings, sensations, interactions,
Right.
but without judging them.
Or getting attached.
Exactly.
So it's not about escaping reality. It's about seeing it more clearly.
Yeah, being present in the moment.
With a heightened awareness.
Exactly.
He talks about bringing that same attention to our inner world.
Yeah, he talks about observing the mind,
Mm.
paying attention to our thoughts, and
Right.
seeing how they shape everything.
It's like we become scientists of our own minds.
Exactly.
Studying how it all works.
And through that observation,
Mm-hmm.
we can start to see the patterns,
Okay.
the things that are holding us back.
The fears and anxieties.
All of it.
His approach is so radical,
Yeah,
but also so practical.
it is, isn't it?
It's not about adopting a belief system. It's about finding a way to live more freely.
I think that's what makes his work so appealing.
It is.
He's not asking us to believe anything blindly.
Right.
He's encouraging us to explore and see for ourselves.
I like that. So as we wrap up this deep dive, what are some key takeaways for our listeners?
I would say one of the most important is to question everything,
Right.
but not in a negative way,
Right.
with curiosity
Mm-hmm.
and a willingness to let go of what you think you know,
Challenge your beliefs, your assumptions.
even your sense of self.
Wow.
See what happens when you approach life with that openness.
That's great advice.
Uh-huh.
It's so easy to get stuck in our ways.
It is.
Another thing that resonated with me is the importance of self-observation.
Oh, yeah.
Just paying attention to your thoughts and feelings.
Without judgment.
Just observing.
Exactly.
What can you
Yeah.
learn about yourself by doing that?
And remember, this journey isn't a solo mission.
Yeah.
Krishnamurti talks about how interconnected we all are,
Mm.
how our individual transformations affect the world around us.
Right. So as we become more aware,
We're contributing to a more peaceful world.
that's a really beautiful thought.
Yeah,
That we each have the power to make a difference.
we do.
Just by becoming more conscious,
More awake.
more alive.
It's a journey worth taking.
It is. And it starts with a single step.
Towards awareness
Understand.
and a more authentic way of being.
Well, listeners, we've reached the surface, our deep dive into J. Krishnamurti's Freedom from the Known.
It's been a fascinating one.
It has. We hope you found it thought-provoking.
I hope so.
And remember, the real journey begins now.
Yes,
As you take these ideas and explore them for yourself,
absolutely.
see how they resonate with your own experiences.
That's what it's all about.
What challenges you, what insights come up.
And how can you apply these teachings to your own life?
Exactly. So until next time, keep exploring.
Keep questioning.